Imagine this, you're at your living room in the beginning of this new century, enjoying a few Legos to build that one amalgamation you have wanted to build since you first got them. You're finally putting all the pieces together, and with a few snaps you realize you're missing quite a lot of pieces, because you didn't collect enough of those. And as your frustration settles, you decide to turn on the TV to calm your nerves a little. The static of the antenna and the channel browsing starts getting to your fidgeting fingertips, and as you were about to change the channel once more, you're interrupted by a very ominous sight. There's random footage of people reacting in copy to what seems to be a countdown of what is expressed as the end of the world. Several voices and faces and moments together as the tension floods your skin with that vibrant opera music. You feel the emotions, you feel like truly this might be the end. For a split moment, you believe it. Footage of military forces is shown on the screen, people praising to their gods, others facing reality with their closed ones, with the eventual dreadful end coming near to each and every single one of us. And finally, the countdown reaches 0. A side of a very damning looking orb with a face that could only be described as pure passionately cruel. As it gets closer and closer, and you witness the destruction of many buildings with this music crashing into your heart, giving you that vibrant feeling at each single hair in your skin, your legs, your arms, your entire being feeling it at that single moment. And then, silence. Nothing more than silence. This was the publicity Nintendo used to attract attention to the first ever consecutive sequel to a main Zelda game in their franchise, and one that has been regarded by many as the darkest and the greatest of the Zelda games, even as the pedestal for one of the greatest Nintendo 64 games, the successor and possible overcomer of Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. Little bit of a warning, if you hear like jingle bells in the background, it's not fucking Christmas, it's my two cats having a fucking blast, so mind you. Another fair warning, there is some audio corruption that happened during the rendering of the audio of the video. I was unfortunate enough to not be able to fix it, and my cats also kept me from being able to fix it. So every time you hear a little sound glitch, take a shot, let's make it into a drinking game. Just like the analyzer. He loves to fucking drink during his rants. Also shout out to him, cause honestly, thank you for still acknowledging my mediocre video after this time, man. My dude, salute.
And you're a buzzkill.
Ahoy, gents and gentlemen, and my people of the technicolor rainbow in between. I have come here with one of the most harrowing and struggling projects I have made, and that's not an exaggeration. This is definitely harder than Wind Waker for me personally, and I will have my own reasons, but as a serious note, I will not do an in memoriam for this retrospective. The person I'm referencing to this project, I have too much respect to taint their memory with my rasping voice, but the very least I want to say is that I am glad I was able to then trade myself to this franchise and this game because of them. Now, on another note, I really want to share through this Psych October and the time of Hollowsness something that just not is personal, but very, very heavy hitting for many today. So I will add this disclaimer.
Hey! Did you know it's spooky month?
Tonight is Halloween, and many of you are probably already done with the candy coating of their lives and wanting something cozy and abnormal to fill your ears, in order to decompress from the chaos of this unhinged world, and that I can relate to. But what if I told you there was a game once that embodied that dreadful chaos, and that to this day, it still quenches my veins and my heartbeat like the ink in a paper towel? Because tonight, we are talking about a very specific trail of themes. We are talking about a game I was given and that I played a few times in my life, and I never truly liked.
You what? What the fuck?
I have probably gained the hate of so many people in the community. Now I understand how Camilla Cuevas felt.
Real. You don't deserve an apology for being groomed. You don't deserve an apology for being groomed.
Wait, no, I'm not a sponsor for Predators, unlike...
Hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party.
So for those that have the pitchforks and torches ready for me, I do want to express that I don't hate Majora's Mask. Yeah, that hatred is reserved for another game I won't mention today.
Launch initiated.
Looks familiar?
But after Ocarina, I truly had high hopes for such a praised game. And being for the first time a direct sequel on the same console, how could I not? But when I finally played it, the gameplay mechanics, the management system, repeated confusing characters, and the time limit really fucking put me under a lot of pressure as a fucking dumb kid that barely knew what the fuck the word moon meant. I will admit maybe I'm coming up too strong, but the strength in following this game has... Liam Triforce, King Key, PG Reviews, Peanut Butter Gamer, Rabbit Luigi, Josh Scorcher, Nexpo, fucking Nexpo spoke about Majora's Mask. And when I used to be a League of Legends player, during my shenanigans with the League of LoL, Oscar the Green Scorpion did express sometimes his love for Majora's Mask, and then added it to the top of his favorite video games of all time. That is how influential this game has become in the last few decades it has existed. It has overshadowed its predecessors and successors. It's like the Darth Vader of Zeldas. It has its influential eminence that cannot be overpowered, and its own eminence has created connections to other projects to the point that its inclusion means success in the franchise. But when removed, then the challenge for success is bigger and not as accepted. Damn, I did not expect this on the current affairs of Star Wars so soon. Fuck, we deserve the actual twins and Acolyte. How can you purposely fuck up such an important part of the lore? It was right there waiting to be adapted, but nope, let's butt fuck it to oblivion. Wait, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, Zelda.
What's wrong with you?
The few times in my life that I have enjoyed the games in this franchise really have meant something. But this game, not only did its influence affect me, but the influence of the world surrounding me didn't allow me to actually feel as it's a game. I felt it as if it was a void. The things I have brought yearly through Psych October have always involved a connection to things we truly fear. Horror uses the manipulation of the things that exist in order to create the sense of dreadful horror. But when dread becomes too close to home, it's something darker than horror, and it's hard to pinpoint a true way to describe it. But if there was a way to ever embody it, I truly think Majora's Mask has embodied it in such a way for a child, for a teen, or for an adult, for anyone to digest it through a video game. Sometimes I'm not the best with words. Who am I kidding? I suck at words. I've been speaking this language for 15 years and I still am babbling brook over here.
You disrespect Skibidi Toilet.
Yes, I did. But you don't understand.
Why? Why did you do this?
He just has Elriz.
He's a Sigma.
But I do wish to express this retrospective in the best of my abilities, how it truly deserves it. So, if you may, please allow me to take you once again back in time to my early years as a young boy with a Nintendo 64 in one of my darkest times. A game whose effect has one jump in and truly have no return. This is one of the darkest Zelda Nintendo ever birthed upon the world of video games. When Majora's Mask was released, it came along with a modifier for the Nintendo 64 for both its graphics and its memory capabilities. This was one of the only games that pushed the Nintendo 64 past its limit, and it truly showed in more ways than one, its legacy surpassing generations in gaming. This game was released as a golden cartridge, similar to the cartridge I hold of Zelda 2 Link's Adventure. The time I remember popping it in, I was actually ecstatic. And I hope to see the intro, it had just like Ocarina brought a soothing feeling. And it did have a cozy intro, one that honestly can only describe as a small flavor of sweetness that only has a thin layer upon its crunchy and raunchy sourness. I will need to remind you, I was a kid, and being granted these themes truly affected me in more ways than one, both visually and with the music. It didn't help that I played this game during winter most of the time, and times in winter would get cloudy, cold, and dark. I've always loved winter, but this game truly gave me a sense of an unsettling winter. I popped myself into this immersive world, expecting to see Hyrule once again, but this time, Link apparently has sought a new quest. One far from the lands of Hyrule, all the way to the land known as Termina, another world. And his quest started by one thing, not being able to let go of what he experienced during his quest of time. You see, this is something that happens to children growing up. Psychologically, we need a certain balance in order to adapt to standards of what we call functional. But when one is used to such chaos, it's hard to find that peace to move along. One seeks to find chaos again, because it's the only thing one knows. It's what is familiar, and is what will always lead one to more chaos. But when adding more upon the bottle, it will eventually pour out. Link is in retrospect a veteran knight. He is a child physically, but his years as an adult with so many battles made him become this dark-ended knight. Hyrule's Dark Knight.
What is this? It's a meme, Batman.
But as he comes to the land and world of Termina, his quest is now known to be one single-minded, to find Navi again, the one companion that stayed with him through his entire ordeal, and the one who truly understands him. Arriving gets him met with a particular being, one that has two fairies, one called Skull Kid. Skull Kid already knew Link, for he had no face like the rest of the creatures in the Lost Woods, and Link was the only one that gave him kindness, with playing the ocarina with him, and giving him the mask that made him be similar to the rest of the Lost Kids. But this time, Skull Kid was wearing a very different mask, a menacing and harrowing piece of the past. They meet once again, but instead of it being friendly, to Link's surprise, his little horse Epona is taken. These fairies that Skull Kid is with attack him, and Skull Kid leaves with completely bafflement. I mean, Skull Kid has a certain color that would make this make sense, so... After this entire debacle, Link takes not a single moment to pause and takes on hand to the path to follow Skull Kid. And Link this time is a seasoned warrior, jumping like he's Ezio Auditore da Firenze parkouring.
Ezio's my name, murdering children is my game. Stabby, slice and dice.
Once Link reaches Skull Kid, it all comes with a fucking shock. Skull Kid somehow has dark magic now, powers that surpass Ganondorf, and puts a curse on Link, shaping him as a Deku Scrub. This forces Link to adapt to new abilities and mechanics that no Hylian is used to his new body, but this body is not his own. After Scrub Link ends his altercation with Skull Kid, he encounters a very familiar man. One Link already knows, the Happy Mask Salesman. One that actually takes a curiosity upon this familiar tunic Scrub and talks about a certain energy that he can recognize. A line that still echoes in me to this day is uttered. You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? He definitely knows more than he shows, but he's not here to catch up with Link. For you see, the masked salesman has gotten one of his masks stolen, and he wants it back. He needs it back, and he gives you 3 days to do this. Oh, okay, so just a small time limit. That's fine.
This is fine.
After that strange conversation, we finally encounter the main hub world of the land of Termina, where Link shall encounter his connections to the rest of the world of Termina, Clock Town. Clock Town is where everything begins. Imagine you are used to the Ocarina of Time, to usually having some sense of location and guidance. This game doesn't do that shit. You see, you are forced to familiarize yourself with new mechanics as soon as the game pulls you in. You are forced to adapt to talking to different strangers, and familiar looking characters are not the characters you usually remember. And to learn something sinister on this land. For you see, once you take upon your angling and camera, you notice a giant creepy looking orb and the townsfolk continuously talking with different emotions about the affairs of this world and what they can achieve in 3 days. Because the moon shall fall in 3 days. Yes, you heard me correctly and clearly. The moon is falling and many in here are taking it very nonchalantly, creating a fucking festival for the Day of Doom. Which sounds like the most close to home thing I've witnessed in my lifetime, many times. But with this, it's almost surreal to see the moon hovering as a reminder that time is limited. And another thing, every fucking point of time in the day of every single day is completely adapted. You see, there are people that shall appear for the first day, then they will actually change places the second day, or be walking around on the third day. This was very new and unusual to me, not knowing what to do or where to go, because this was very fucking overwhelming to me a lot. But I kept pushing through, even not knowing how to handle it. I figured it out over time. Which is how this game forces the player to adapt, to focus on the relationships and observe your surroundings to every single part of a day in time, and eventually become part of these schedules. This accentuates the name Clocktown figuratively, as you are in the necessity to adapt to the clock. And with many conversations and learning the fucking schedule, which took me hours and retries, but I finally was able to get back on track and learn what to do as a little scrub for 3 fucking days.
That's not enough time.
There's always time for a song.
After a huge array of side quests and chats with people, which again, this is what the game is about. It's about forming relationships and connections that will strengthen one for a coming adversity. That is the point of all of these side quests. To get to know these characters and understand them in a deeper level, and doing that will unlock masks. Masks will change the purpose and magic abilities in the future. But as one collects all the shit necessary, if you're like me, you probably fumble quite a bit and let time run out from being overwhelmed with anxiety, and... This is the most harrowing and graphic death I had witnessed Link handle in the entire franchise, and to make it more unsettling, you hear the mask salesman's giggling with that harrowing, unsettling phrase. You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? I did not want to repeat this unfathomable setting after witnessing it all. The purpose of shock and trauma is to make one realize the patterns one committed and see what can be done in order to either overcome or to not repeat it. And it's easier said than done, but everything I did, I tried my best to do it fucking correctly and in a timely manner. Then I can finally meet Skull Kid. This entails the first battle of the game, one with a fucking detrimental time limit, and also I forgot to mention, but all of this was done not just because of a necessity of survival and adaptation, but because this fairy joined Link out of necessity, cause she got lost from her brother, and needs to reunite with him. Their names are Tattle and Tail. Oh god, I remember my dog's name was Tattle.
Hello, dark night spiral friend.
After doing all of this entire quest with Tattle, we reunite the siblings, but Tail yells a lot about some things that have to be done as fast as possible and where. This pisses the Skull Kid more, and he does his cursed magic and forces the moon to fall even faster down to Termina. And now, with the doom coming to one, Link has to quickly take the fast decision on how to stop Skull Kid. And suddenly, with one hit, you can get the Ocarina of Time back. You just gotta go
Huck to and spit on that thing!
Which helps Link get himself back into the groove to play it and release the same magic that he has to learn as the hero of time. returning in time lets Link reset the entire cycle of 3 days once more, and forces him to relive many of the same chaotic traumas he just lived over and over. And Tato at least stuck with Link with only the clues given by Tail. After the entire chaotic endeavor, the masked salesman helps Link getting back into his knight body thanks to the Song of Healing. This is the most important song of the game, which helps Link turn his curse into a mask thanks to the happy masked salesman. After this, he finally asks if he was able to get back the mask, but nope, and he goes fucking bad touch a veil.
Bad touch! Stop arresting that Kazam! We have lip-to-lip contact here! Hurry!
After this entire debacle, Link finally is able to adapt to his new magic mask to be able to transform as a scrub whenever he needs it, and also to learn of what was that mask the Skull Kid beheld. The Majora's Mask is an item that was used for dark rituals, one that conceals so many cruel and horrendous acts of violence and blasphemous heresies within its essence. So endarkened that it became a powerful source of magic, one that could rival the powers of a Triforce user. And in a certain way, the masked salesman came across the Skull Kid when he was barely getting along with his new fairies, and Skull Kid lost his own mask. So, through the harrowing times of being secluded and unwanted, he found bond with fairies having the same struggle, and when they robbed the masked salesman, he looked for a new fate. And as if fate was playing a joke, he encountered the Majora's Mask, the one that gave him these vicious powers and made him change into the infamous rascal that is now cursing the land of Termina. All of this dumped upon me made me both scared and empathetic towards the Skull Kid, his suffering from not being able to fit in, which eventually grew into him becoming the perpetrator that changed so many lives for the verse. God damn it, he's a school shooter.
Faster than my ballet.
When learning all of this, one finally ventures out to the world of Termina to start this ever-flowing adventure of darkness and desperation along in, with always watching a glaring fucking eye from the sky. And one of the first adventures shall be towards the swamps, where the Deku Scrubs reside in, behold, a palace. And here, Link has to use his scrub abilities to go around and find what is going on with this kingdom. Aside from the fact that the king of the scrubs has his daughter, the princess, kidnapped, he has delved himself in illogical rage to the point of bringing his hatred towards this undeserving monkey. Oh no, they predicted 2016 all along.
Harambe, in a few seconds you're gonna get shot, so you need to let go of the child. Wait, no. Dong, you need to dodge. Harambe, wait. Harambe! Harambe!
One thing I noticed through this adventure so far, as a Hylian I was given a lot of pushback, but I was accepted as a scrub in the Deku Palace. But as I went on as a scrub in Clocktown, I noticed a lot of pushback. It shows me the dysfunctional race system within the world of Termina compared to the reconnecting of the world of Hyrule. As a scrub, Link 1 is able to gain connections with the members of the Scrub Kingdom, including the butler, who is the right hand of the king, and is gaining some trust from him, learning of a sudden cursing passing of his own son, and how Link's scrub form reminds him of his own son, as he has a very similar form. This will be important later on, but as I remember venturing forth, one also has to do a specific array of chores and mini-quests in order to bring from the Poison Swamp the curse-worshipping temple of the Woodfall Palace. The Woodfall Palace is the first dungeon of the game, and for the first time I rushed through the dungeon as much as I could, because I could feel the imminent time limit. I mean, it's in the fucking screen, how can I not have that anxious-inducing clock push me? It's like a hovering professor watching you finish your fucking project, not letting you continue without your breath clashing against your skin. This is a bit of a teaser, for these mechanics are what they wanted to achieve in Ocarina of Time, but with the console limitations they had to wait until this game, and this game was developed in 1 year. So when you play with a rush fucking anxious stress, you feel the same feelings as the director and developers of the game.
Coincidence? I think not!
Adapting to the Scrub abilities are not as hard as before, for little by little the game makes one adapting step by step from their decisions and encounters. You glide as a Scrub and it's fucking entertaining, and hopping on water makes me feel like the good old Mr. J. Then there is the bosses of this dungeon. Honestly, with the confrontations here, one sees the full extent of what Link can face. Bosses that overpower the forces of Ocarina, paling them in comparison. And the dungeon main boss being one that makes it feel intense, as he is a swordsman warrior too, making Link want to adapt to fighting someone on the same grounds. And as one overcomes, finally we learn what the purpose of this dungeon is. For at the end, one grabs a sacred mask, one that would help Link with his final battle, and one that sealed the calling of a giant. For you see, the giants once knew Skull Kid. They were seen as deities, and the reason the masked carnival exists. But as Termina had no reason to be saved anymore, they all went their separate ways, leaving Skull Kid behind. All of these recurrences happening when Skull Kid decided to leave the world to Hyrule, which had Link meet him. Eventually, Skull Kid came back to Termina as he found Tato and Tail, and with some mischief, he encountered the mask that now has brought him with the hexing powers, and now dooms this world and sealing the giants in the cursed dungeons. These godlike beings, completely overpowered by the Skull Kid, it puts in perspective the harrowing power he has acquired and the forces Link will have to overcome. Finishing the first dungeon and letting the swamp finally heal is incredibly satisfying, and we get to witness the peaceful recreation of the relationships among the Scrubs. There is a sourness to this victory though, because one has to use the Ocarina of Time again and reset everything. While we have the legendary mask in the inventory and experience and items to brag about, nobody knows what Link just experienced. The swamp is cursed once more, as one goes back to the first day. This is the truth of Majora, an endless loop where actions only matter to one, and no matter how hard one tries, it will never come to full fruition, for one can only do so much. But that feeling is one that emanates through the entire world of Termina, a feeling recurring among its people, the quests and to link to, the feeling of loss. Many people in Termina are suffering loss, overcoming loss, losing something, or fearing loss. And that is the main horror of the reality of Majora's Mask. To learn that like normal people, they suffer, and we do too. Loss is something nobody is prepared to endure, and is something nobody deserves. But just like the moon here, it is an everlasting hovering feeling, once we take a glimpse of the possibilities of such. And with that feeling, it's always following. We tend to act differently because of it. We tend to feel lost. We tend to give up. We tend to burst out at others. We tend to isolate. Or we tend to find ways to push through, either keeping ourselves busy with other hobbies. Others suffer with different and famous methods, or they end it with overwhelming feeling. The darkness of loss is one that this game taught me very well, but one that now shows the importance of traversing of this harrowed world. Even with the dreadful themes of Majora's Mask, one truly can find some entertaining and exhilarating moments. I found myself incredibly invested in these people, such as the quest to help this man and his little chicks to grow into hens, or to correlate with the legendary spiritual creature that is involved with the Keaton mask, which will be highly important later, or go into the milk bar to visit it constantly and find many other characters that would use it as a place for coping. And when it comes close to the last day, the bartender confesses that his fear is that his last wish won't be fulfilled due to the end of the world coming. And when you come on the last day, this afternoon, he completely goes apeshit happy as he tells you he can die in peace for his wish was granted, as his favorite customer came right before the moon fell. That customer was you all along. It is moments like these that made me realize Majora's Mask wasn't about saving the world, but saving others, because Link already saved the world before, but this time, with his own loss, he takes the role of a healer, someone that heals through different methods the lives of all these people that even though will have their lives eradicated, they still are worth time enough for Link to invest his persona in them. But one thing that cannot be healed is death. This game uses the theme of death a lot. The Gorons in Termina are suffering through an everlasting Kelvin levels of wind. Oh my god, I said Kelvin, and all I can think of is Zero Kelvin from Mucha Lucha. I fucking miss that show. As I was saying, the Gorons have learned to survive in a tundra land, but with a sudden curse they have been passing away little by little through this overbearing winter, and with Darmani, one of the most brave Gorons, being mentioned as a remembrance, because his actions were heroic, but his goals are yet unfinished. Darmani is one of the souls that will be healed through Link's song, but with that he is able to bestow upon Link the power he beholds, hence the Goron's mask. And in this form, Link looks exactly like Darmani and can go supersonic! In order to have Darmani's soul rest, you have to finish his quest to cleanse the curse on the tundra that comes from the dungeon of this icy land. There are other people through Termina that require help not just through healing, but through survival. Like Romani's ranch. Oh god, the ranch.
Hot hard, buff cowboys, their cocks throbbing hard!
Here, Link can be reunited with Epona and ride her once more, but as a child, providing his experience as a knight still holds a candle here in Termina. In this ranch, you can choose to help the people to survive the nocturnal creatures that steal cows, and eventually could do something else to Romani that leaves her so traumatized that she's not able to be herself anymore. You even witness her older sister have a breakdown as she realizes the end of the world is coming, and how much she has bottled it up until now, and feeling as a failure as a sister because of Romani. At the far side of the beach, one can encounter a Zora who completely crumbles in front of Link, wounded, drained, and completely in disarray. All Link can do is listen to his last words as he passes on an important task he could not finish, and Link is able to wear his form as a mask, Zora Link. With this form, one can finally conquer the water. This is the only time in the franchise that Link has been the most adept in water. His abilities are fucking superb. Who's Aquaman? Fuck that guy. I am the hero of time. But as one goes further, the dreadful truth arises. Mikao was a member of a musical nomad band of Zoras, and as they were touring, the Gerudo pirates attacked. Mikao's partner and main vocalist had just laid her Zora eggs, but they were taken by the Gerudo pirates to be trafficked. But Mikao, even though is not a seasoned warrior, still chased for days the Gerudo pirates, fighting them until he was mortally wounded. And as we know, he passed on his quest to Link. I have to repeat as I stated before, Link has the purpose to heal and to soothe the hearts of others. Not just healing the land through its 3-day cycle on the respective lands in order to acquire the necessity items to reset and eventually overcome this never-ending loop. Which actually reminds me of a classic movie from Germany called Run Lola Run. It's a movie that shows a woman dealing with many turmoils in a never-ending loop of time. Similar to Groundhog Day or Happy Death, time loops are curses in media that have always been anxious-inducing. But this time, it makes Link and the player realize how meaningful these moments are, but how meaningless these actions can be. For this loop is a cycle similar to how one can feel during traumatic coping. I'm not a psychologist, but I can say that I understand how it feels to be constantly in the same self-destructive cycle constantly. But in order to escape it, one has to take the first step. One must understand their flaws in their environment in order to learn what has to be changed. To heal is to change, and change can be scary, so we feel lost in change. We feel alien in a new environment. We feel like we are forced to adapt, but change is good, as scary as it is. And this world needs change. Even if it's for its current cycle, it has to eventually heal. But one has to use the tools necessary in order to change Majora's curse. However much longer the hero of time can take the pressure of his demons and Termina's ever-flowing demon in the sky.
Straight from the moment I could feel the ground, I could not decide. Just like the sea when it pulls the tide. Further I sink to the depths below, breathing no matter how far I go. I'm losing grip on the afterglow. Can you see what's really hard to you? To a youth so alone. Will you try to feed the pain, consume your heart and bone? I can take the pressure, my demons seize the air. I can take the pressure, I'm gone beyond repair. So far, just give me hope. Then you stopped in my life, gave a twist to the knife. You were put in my back long ago. You took my trust, took my heart and soul. So for a price, set the reaper stole. Cut him and now I feel insane. Can you see what's really haunting you? The answer to a youth is all alone. Will you turn away or feed the pain that's soon you're on your own? I can take the pressure, my demons taste the air. I can take the pressure, I'm gone beyond repair. You can take my side, you tear my body. I won't stop fighting, won't stop fighting. You can take my side, you tear my body. I won't stop fighting, won't stop fighting. I can take the pressure, my demons taste the air. I won't stop fighting. I can take the pressure, I'm gone beyond repair. I won't stop fighting. I can take the pressure, my demons taste the air. I can take the pressure, I'm gone beyond repair.
I remember after completing the Great Bay Temple and Snowhead Temple, I felt so drained from the game. It was hard for me to come back to it. I spent an entire year neglecting it. I needed my Smash Brothers and platformers, but the one thing I noticed is that as I passed through my cartridges, I wouldn't even want to touch Majora's Mask. But eventually, I was left over with no other game to play at that time, so I snapped back into it with the console and continued where I left off. I don't do good with unfinished games. I remember doing the same thing with Assassin's Creed and having a hard time going back to continue. Usually I want to start all over again, but all that time and effort would be completely wasted because of that choice, so I'm stuck in a cycle.
He said it! He said it!
As I mentioned before, I'm a very simplistic man, but my struggles are a bit more complex, and that kind of pisses me off, because I wish my problems were a lot more simpler, and I think to myself, maybe Link has that same problem. Maybe a damaged kid forced to grow up and choose by others might not be the best health. He learned that he wasn't a Kokiri when he was raised a monk, learned that his mother and father were vanquished after he was born, lost his father figure. He lost many of the people he grew up with. He even lost his closest friend. Link is a walking trauma factory, and I think that is what helps me humanize his being. While Zelda has never allowed Link to truly be at full expression, one can learn to correlate through his lore and through his actions involving other people. But what happens when those people are already gone? How can you heal what is already lost? The fourth and last land to explore is both the longest and the most harrowing, for its dungeon can be seen from far away no matter where one is located. And this is the only place where one does not need just transformation, but to use music, the other masks, and all the learned skills through Link's journey. To me, it was like the Spirit Temple as it tested all the skills learned to exploit both the adult and child abilities. This is the land of Ikana. Ikana is a place that has dealt with curses beyond belief. The undead exist here and keep overflowing the land. There is a king that with his unfinished conflict, he still leads his soldiers in the afterlife as they secure Ikana's canyon and extensions of the land. There are not just redeads, but also Gyptos, beings of ancient humans that were mummified and are now roaming free with the same essence as the redeads. There are poses that can be hostile or friendly. There's even a sibling rivalry that can be healed and help resolute a curse. But the Song of Healing can only do so much here. That is why Link learns the Elegy of Emptiness. Emptiness is what one has to deal with after so much damage. One has to start to feel again, destroy everything one understands and to become something new. And it's hard, it's painful, but it is necessary in order to evolve. And that is very heavily structured here in Ikana. There is this alone person alive, one little girl that stayed back as the rest of the people have fled after the undead have risen like a fucking Romero film. Pamela over here is a child that decided to stay to protect people from harming her father, who is slowly transforming into an undead, as regular people can see him as a threat, and Gyptos keep on stalking them for they can sense he is one of them. But with this, Link has the chance to help recover the scientist that is studying the supernatural existence of Ikana. Link can also acquire a mask that distracts the Redeads, making them do this? I guess I see a miniature undead and get that sensation of dancing stuck in their head. Get it? Cause they're undead, like zombies, like the song from the Carrion Berries. Yeah, I'll see myself out.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
And within the lore of Ikana, we learn also of two factions constantly in combat here, the Ikana undead and the Garros. The Garros are spies from another kingdom that were sent here from another land, but after years their goals have never been fulfilled. And so these husks of combat still fight in the afterlife, with no rest to have and no peace. And I wonder why they are so secluded, but then I look at their faces and it makes sense. I mean, with that color, of course it would be like that. Tyrone would be proud. You know, I need to stop using the Tyrone on these games. He didn't do anything wrong. Hell, I don't even know Tyrone. But racism has to stop, and I realize how bottled up my eyesight was and my perception. The other day I was out and about and I saw this guy with a Zelda t-shirt, and honestly, I was having a little bit of a grin to enjoy seeing a Zelda fan like him around. A man of color to also be such a fan of a series is my definitive brother-in-arms in the land of Hyrule. I asked him which Zelda was his favorite, and he mentioned Wind Waker, and I truly can relate to that. Well, I could before he took my fucking wallet.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
The astonishing conflict of the undead in different factions is actually immersive as fuck. But all of these unrested conflicts are all confined through the most cursed place in Termina, the Stone Tower. The Stone Tower is the last dungeon in this game, and the one that tests the Elegy of Emptiness and all of Link's skills to the fullest. A place that houses the most impacting and darkest enemies Link faces, and is the only place correlated to Hyrule. You see, the Stone Tower not only is where the leader of the Garros resides, it is a portal where some beings exist that are the curse of his land, but that is only one curse. For this place has many curses, because in ancient times, this tower was used for blasphemy against the goddesses of creation, and the three goddesses during the war involving the Garo decided to invest one ultimatum. to use a magic force that would flip this tower into its own limbo curse, to flip it upside down, and make the people fall into the skies, never to be seen again. This is one of the most harrowing actions involving Hyrule, and I learned of darkness in Hyrule that was confirmed with the tortured remains of a Shadow Temple and the deep well in Kakariko Village. But here it seems like Hyrule royal family and the deities have won their match in Ikana, but for fighting against them they were punished for eternity, not able to rest. True wrath. I mean, you even encounter the equivalent of a Grim Reaper in this place, a fight that has the most dreadful and amazing design of a boss fight. But with all of this, I found something interesting. The undead in Ikana are not in true loss or suffering as the rest of Termina. They coexist. They have learned many ways to live here. They have made their home and have existed this long that they have the most humanity out of all the beings I've seen in Termina. Death is not the end for them. It was but an entrance to another way of life, and that's kind of heartwarming. It speaks the least of the themes of Islam, and it helps me understand a comforting conclusion, acceptance. They have accepted their happenings and have moved on in a sort of way. Even though they still haven't finished business in this world, they are content with their cycles without harming others. And that's admiring. Oh, when you face the Garo's leader, he goes fucking Islam bombing on you. But with all this, Ikana still deserves another try, one that Link must endure. It's to overcome and to truly know what emptiness feels for these undead. These beings that have become instruments of chaos and destruction. Hyrule's own cyanide.
Give a fuck about the party, I'ma stay in the back. I'm crossfaded, mixed depression with the panic attack. Ever since I was a kid, I never fit with the crowd. I was hoping by my age I would've figured it out. Talking about the shit I lived, it's like I'm swallowing raisins. Try to make it go away, write it down on some paper. And it's tough, cause no one wants to feel like they stuck. It's getting darker now and I've had enough. Hello?
after finally unsealing the last giant, Link can reset time one more, but this time I realized I still had unfinished quests for the masks, and this still made me feel overwhelmed. I did not want to continue again, even with the things I had achieved, even with how many people were helped and healed. I still felt like it was nothing, because what was the point if it was going to be reset? Everything I worked for was for naught, and I know it's me being a child not able to understand its gaming symbolism, but it was not something I could handle back then. What then? Could I even find something that would make me want to keep going? The quests for the rest of the people in Clocktown did not help. I mean, it was funny to see a fucking hand talking to me, or seeing this yelling boss that would force its people to keep working just because he was in denial about the end of the world, or to see how people that were so jolly get crumbled and humbled by the last day. I had seen it all, and it was only temporary entertainment. Nothing that would make me truly feel, except one quest. One single quest truly broke me. In a good way. The quest of the marriage mask. The quest to find Cafe is the quest that really made me invest myself emotionally to the fullest in this game, for it's one of the only quests that is so demanding in all of the entire 3-day cycle. How you talk to people involved with is crucial, especially with Anju. You would pass by and see Anju crying from now and then if you pass Clocktown, but when finally confronting her, you learn that she is missing Cafe, her fiancé. Cafe has been missing recently, and nobody knows where he is. So you investigate further and further because there have been signs that he might still be alive. And so you follow this kid with a Keaton mask that seems to be important to this quest involving shadows. And so you chase and confront him. You finally find Cafe. This entire time, Cafe has been hiding because he had been cursed by a skull kid to become a child. This heartless action left Cafe vulnerable to be jumped and his marriage item to be stolen. If you are able to communicate with him, you can start the new quest that will help Cafe head to the legendary thief's hideout, but you have to help him without knowing. Cafe is still a man and wants to finish this quest like one, not knowing his limitations as a child. And oh my god, it's just like Link. Link is a warrior stuck in a child's body, and Cafe is stuck in this child's body trying to go to a large endeavor on his own. But as you start to reconcile Anju and Cafe, you invest so much time with every single second on the clock, just to help this man pass through so many obstacles and to aid his final challenge. And as he finally overcomes, he can go back to Clocktown. But just as you finish his quest, it is but mere minutes before the moon will fall, and you see Anju waiting at their meeting place for their wedding. And she is determined to wait even with the world ending. And you wait, and you wait, and you start to doubt if Cafe will even make it, if he could even survive after all he is just a child right now. But as he finally passes through that door, those doubts are all washed away. Cafe truly proved me wrong, as I underestimated him, and as he shows his current form, Anju still holds him, embraces him, and reassures him as she swears to spend their remaining lives together, for she loves him till the end, as husband and wife. Cafe was willing to go through such ordeals just to get back his marriage piece of a mask, just so they can fuse him with Anju's to convert into the couple's mask. And as one witnesses this, you can alert them to evacuate, but they decide to stay. They have accepted their fate, and they are happy finally. This is what broke me. It is one thing to be willing to live the rest of your life with the person you love, but it is a whole nother level to be willing to die with the person you love. To spend your remaining moments and completely accept fate is something truly unfathomable. But true love fathoms it. It's what made me shed tears. The love of these two surpassing the effects of the doom of Termina. And I adore it. I love it. I truly love this quest, and it inspired me to finish it in full fruition. Being concluded with so many lives, so many faces, so many masks, so many fulfilled hopes and dreams, and so many losses. Yet, with time reset, these have not been truly healed. For one can only achieve this if the Skull Kid is stopped. The kid Link once held, and so on the last dawn, the last day, the last moments as the moon is prepared to fall. Link can finally face Skull Kid the Imp once more. And with a sudden array of skills, he is able to stop him. And as the moon continues to fall, the giants finally appear as they stop the moon. They completely hold it against the demonic force the moon beheld. And the world's end is stopped thanks to Link's doing. But this is not over. For this time, we've witnessed something unbelievable. The mask of Majora. The mask has a voice. The mask is alive. The mask leaving Skull Kid behind, and he imbues itself inside the moon to finally become more powerful. And once completed, one has to go inside the moon. This is not what I expected. A green field, the giant tree in the center, children running around wearing legendary masks. So NASA did fake the moon landing. Now this moment is crucial because the children all represent the significant curses that seal the giants. And if you talk to them, they can offer answers in exchange for masks. So I realized this the first time way too late. And that is why I had to go back in order to get all the ones I missed. And so I can give back the masks. Cause these fuckers are like the IRS taxing your most precious currency. Emotional trauma. But more importantly is that each child hides within themselves small mini dungeons that challenge Link to use all of his mask abilities. And after completing them and giving up all the masks required through Termina's Odyssey, then Link can finally speak to one secluded child, one that is just left alone, untouched and uncommunicated, a child wearing Majora's mask. And as he speaks to you and realizes all the others are gone, he offers to continue playing his game. And that broke me. This entire time, Majora has never had a motive to do all of this cruelty. There was no ambition of power, no greed, no necessity to belittle or overpower others. Not a power struggle or even an empathetic background. It was all a game to him. And this is what makes it so cruel. The lives of so many people to be nothing but a joke for a game, for him. Not even tools, not even pawns, just a fucking game piece. Now if you were able to complete all the side quests and get all the masks, you can finally have the most broken power-up in the entire franchise. The first deity mask. The mask that gives Link the power to once again become an adult. But with his power of the Triforce, he is able to channel the dark powers of his mask. A mask that has the same level of powers of hexing as Majora. He's pretty much challenging you on equal grounds to finish this one-on-one. But his game is to play bad guys versus good guys. And that to him, you are the bad guy. This is it, to complete the final trials of the legendary masks. And Majora's true forms. Your turn to finally witness Majora, the might of the hero of time.
times before. Blood and war is all I've ever known. I have lost my holy mind, nothing to repent. Every day I must survive, further I've sinned. Nothing worth the cost, prices I must pay. Everything I lost turned into your game. I will take you to the end of promises you walk away. You can't see through all the anger you have chosen to stow away. Your loss, my tool, taking orders, waiting for the very day. I can see clearly through your Father, can you hear me cry? Harbor feelings left inside. Yeah, every day is a replay. How wallow in the shadow and pray and let the anger invade. And there's nothing that is gonna take me away. Every moment that I fight's another inch in your grave. Damn your flesh and blood, skin to bone and then the bone to dust. And when all is dead and done, walk with the night as I send your son. I will take you to the end of promises you walk away. You can't see through all the anger you chose to stow away. Your loss, my tool, taking orders, waiting for the very day. We will cross our blades once again. Father, can you hear me feelings left inside. This world has become my pushed against my time. In my dreams, I stand alone. Will I find peace in my soul?
Defeating Majora's true form completely annihilates the curses upon Termina, and disappears this demonic-looking moon that was nothing but a vessel for the curses for Majora. A fake moon, and as Link comes back to the happy mask salesman, he can finally receive Majora's mask back. But now the mask is drained of all magic. It is now but a simple mask, and that makes him both happy and disappointed. And it's understandable, a relic that symbolizes so much to him in his travels, and it was special, but it is worth losing all of that in order to avoid having it all in the wrong hands. I mean, imagine if Ganondorf found this fucking mask, we would all be fucked. The Skull Kid is back to his senses, and as he's scared of the giants for a moment, we witness not only his fear of his punishment, but one thing that the giants kept repeating: forgiveness. They forgive him the same way they insisted Link should forgive his friend, the imp. And that resonated to me as a child, because it is truly hard to forgive. But in order to move on, one has to forgive. Skull Kid suddenly recognizes Link as the kid that taught him Saria's song by the fairies, and he regains his friendship with Link. And after witnessing all of this, finally to see Termina heal in a certain way, but unfortunately, there is a sourness on Termina, one that is unhealable. You see, Termina has consequential damage that cannot be healed, like the Deku royal butler's son that is still cursed to be a tree trunk, his soul never to be regained, leaving the father broken and depressed. The band of Azoras at least has them still touring, but Mikao's life still affected with death. I see still chase the Gerudo pirates, but at least with the curses lifted, the Zoras and the authorities and spirits of the sea help recover the children of the vocalists. The Gorons still live in a tundra, one that they can only survive with, and still have the loss of their champion to mourn, a champion that still has an afterlife of regret. And Ikana is still overrun by the undead, unable to rest, unable to pass over, but still coexisting and following their path and will. Many of the people of Termina still possibly affected by other situations, but at the very least, the most powerful damages are gone. Now they have to fend for themselves, for this was never the place for Link. Link came to Termina through an unexpected portal, one that took him to a new world far from Hyrule, a sort of dimension, just like the Twilight Realm or the Sacred Realm exist, and with many referential connections to the other games I've mentioned, makes Majora's Mask one of the most talked about games. After over 2 decades, this game is still debated and analyzed, but what about me? Well, for you, my dear viewer, I can say, I still don't like this game.
What? What the fuck?
I don't think I have it in me to actually enjoy this game. I finished this game with a sure mindset, with anxiety, with stress, just like the directing developer. Eiji Omuna is the lead director of development for the franchise of The Legend of Zelda, and his first project in this position was Majora's Mask. With 1 year to finish, truly one would have a panicking session after another, and I truly believe his sense of stress and anxiety leaked very deeply into this game's DNA. Majora's Mask came out and, believe it or not, it was bashed. It was disliked by many and criticized for its size in dungeons and the side questing shores, or the stressing time limit mechanic. Now, I mention this because it has been a recurring statement. Wind Waker was disliked by many when it came out, and now it's seen as one of the best games in the GameCube era. Twilight Princess shocked people when it came out due to its grittiness, but now it's seen as an underrated polished gem of the gaming industry, and the same can be said about Majora's Mask. The Legend of Zelda as a franchise has had many struggles, but this was one that truly tested the mettle of its development team, and they succeeded to continue the franchise. They are even working hard to this day, making more games and more improvements and experimentation in the franchise. But the one thing that Majora's Mask has that the others don't have is its dreadful feeling about loss. You see, death is imminent, it's inevitable, and with death comes loss. We can lose a person, or lose ourselves through this, but death is something hard to cope with. And with this game, I think one truly learns about coping. There is a famous theory made by MatPat about how Link could possibly be dead after his searching for Navi, and Termina is his own personal hell, which explains his overgrown corpse in Twilight Princess making an appearance. I wonder what the fuck the fucker is doing nowadays.
Hello Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that, like a crow, is always looking for shiny new theories. Although, while today's...
Wait, that's not MatPat? Wait, is he finally gone?
It's not clickbait. On March 9, I will be hosting my last theory episode, at which point I'll be handing to someone else.
No, MatPat! This is such a sudden decision!
Oh my god, finally!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I am gonna get so many people's hatred for sure. But all jokes aside, MatPat really deserves a break. He has been burned out and it showed on his videos. I stopped enjoying his videos, but I truly think that he deserves a break. He deserves his retirement, and I'm glad he's moving on. Good luck, my man.
Oh jeez.
There are studies showing how Majora's Mask could present symbolism for the dub method of loss coping mechanisms. The steps of grieving presented by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. There is heavy speeches about the hero of time being a surviving example of complex post-traumatic stress disorder as a seasoned veteran. There is talk about the methods of completing quests in Termina, embodying Judith Herman's 3-step phases of trauma recovery. There is even talk about Skull Kid and Majora's actions resembling Olga Vakarova's cycle of aggression and reconciliation. This game to this day still gets studied because it teaches us both as kids and as adults on how to deal and heal trauma. No matter your background, there will be a quest or a character you will be connected to. There will be something in the game for you, no matter how disconnected you may be or how damaged or how unmatched to the game. I have disliked this game to this day, but I highly respect what it has achieved in the grand scheme of time. Imagine this. You recently rearranged your items that you have procrastinated for months to move and organize properly, and you come across a forgotten container. You find the same pieces of Legos you have forgotten that you still had. You finally open them and drop them on your floor, and you start reminiscing as if you're playing with the same aspiring and creative kid that you saw in the mirror around that time. You finally start realizing that the same Legos you have don't seem to have the same effect as when you were younger. It has become dusty. It has become rougher too. But that sensation of seeing your inner child's face, it does spark a little flame in your chimney inside your heart. You realize that the same younger self you have is counting on your current self to move forward to the future. It is hard to accept that things have changed, and maybe all that damage cannot be healed, but you're here. Look at you. You're still here despite everything. And as you turn around and you see your younger self telling you, I'm proud we made it. That's what you need, just to be here. After all, what you do in your life shall echo beyond eternity.
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't.